asking questions or joining the right Facebook groups when you're getting started in something. Those are all things that can definitely help.
There's a big wall when you first come in that's real hard to get over for sure.
Absolutely, and I think part of like, for me, when I first started, I just bought a little, $30 Amazon, Hubson. Those were big for learning back when I first started, and flew it around the house, line of sight, until I could figure out, what everything did, and then I stepped up to started building, my ZMR and on up, so I did try simulators, but they weren't. I mean, back then, simulators weren't the greatest. And Liftoff didn't come out for another, I don't know, 2 years when I first started. So it's
Yeah,
um
there've been good RC simulators, but I agree.
mhm,
Only recently have the drone simulators been
catching
really
up.
good.
Yeah, for
I think
sure.
the quad racing quad simulators have advanced like real
Oh
flight
yeah.
by far.
Oh yeah.
Some of the model aviation ones, but
For sure. All right, so this rolled out. This was originally an article in the Washington Post. Where DJI has for a long time claimed that they have not received funding from uh, China state organizations or from the government itself. Um, and in the Washington Post article, they claimed that it found references to investments in company reports and articles posted on the sites of state owned and controlled investors and an analysis by US Video Surveillance Group IVPM that there were links between uh, DJI and China state funding. Um, it says in December, DJI was one of 8 Chinese businesses inscribed on a UAS or a US Treasury banned list of alleged Chinese military industrial complex companies. That came nearly a year after the world's top drone maker went on the U.S. Department of Commerce's entity list, which prohibits businesses operating in the U.S. from exporting technology to or investing in cited organizations. Um, the Post report says documents it reviewed show foreign investment entities owned or overseen by China's government have invested in DJI in recent years. Those it says include a state assets manager described as having played a key role in promoting partnerships between private enterprises and the Chinese military. Inclusion of that detail will likely embolden accusation by U.S. detractors that DJI tech has been used in China's surveillance and repression of Muslim Uyghurs in Xinjiang province. They also go on to the Washington Post article. I didn't post it. Dave, do you have that link handy for that?
I do not, but I can look for it.
Okay, I can grab it. I have to pull it out of my email, but um, I do want to post it because it goes into a lot more detail about military use, military organizations within CCP, um, purchasing drones from DJI for surveillance and whatnot. In terms of DJI's response, there's been an update in response to it. The Chinese government has not invested in DJI. He told Drone DJI is privately held. The company is solely managed by and majority owned by the founder team. Shareholders other than the founders do not participate in the company's management and operation, but act as financial investors whose sole aim is to earn financial return on the investment.
So that link I posted, is that the one you were looking at on
I
February
do believe so.
1st?
Yes. Let me pop this open. Open. Yes.
It's got some serious
Um.
LEDs on that drone shot there.
Yeah, for real, right? Um. Let's
So
see.
one of the things that's really interesting about this article is that the Washington Post would pick it up. The Washington Post is really good about making sure that their sources are verified. And yet, as you look at, they said there are four SOEs, state-owned enterprises that invested in DJI, And that one you have to really question, because even publicly held companies that are listed in New York or United States exchanges don't comply with United States GAAP accounting principles in reporting. So this DJI is publicly held. How is it that they found 4 state-owned enterprises that said, "Oh yeah, I invested in a privately held company"? So this one really makes you wonder, and yet I'm an I subscribe. I pay attention to the Washington Post, and they are a reputable news gathering service, and have been for decades and decades. So this one is puzzling.
So how is this
Yeah.
different from, say,
So I
Skydio
tend
or
to believe
Autel
it, and
having
yet
government
there's just
contracts?
not much you can believe.
Yeah, that's
coming
something I
out of
look at
China.
too. Sorry.
No, you're fine. So, I mean, to answer Dan's question, I don't think there is much of a difference. The problem, I think, with um the appearance of DJI having ties with the Chinese government right now is that DJI is so prolific in the United States, and there's concerns about spying and um not only that, but exporting technology to China to, let's say I'm a company in the United States. I make a cool new drone, processing chip or whatnot, and DJI wants to purchase that. Well, I'm currently prohibited from exporting that to China for fear of any kind of spying or theft of technology or theft of intellectual property, and as well as that could potentially give the Chinese government a step up in some way or another. So, I mean, that's the concern. Um, and, you know, in the current political climate, it's a big concern right now. And it has been for the last several years, at least since 2017, 2018. So, that would be the major concern with DJI. And I'm not saying they aren't. I mean, obviously I'm just reading articles. I haven't dug in, I mean, nor am I going to dig into their books, but I think that, it's I can
think
see the
we're
concern.
I was
absolutely
just kind
right
of
to
coming.
bring it up, because this is the one thing that is agreed on, as we've mentioned here in Congress, is China bad. So anything that helps that cause in Congress will be leveraged, and that's exactly what this is.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at, because it kind of
So
just
yeah,
seems like some
I
very
do think that
mundane
this
stuff.
will not be positive for DJI.
I mean, in a certain regard, I mean, think of, I, I mean, and I'm not for or against or anything. I'm just, playing devil's advocate. But with I mean, heck, I own DJI. I have, the DJI FPV drone. I fly DJI digital, HD. But with the amount of DJI drones, if there was a way for them to utilize them to spy in some way or another, it's concerning because they're so prolific.
Oh yeah, that's
Um,
totally a valid concern for sure.
so
I
I
don't think that's
mean,
one they can really address as long as they keep their software closed either.
no, but I mean at the same time, DJI has, in a positive light for DJI, they have gone out of their way to create separate versions of their firmware for U.S. government operations. So the U.S. Department of the Interior um, had DJI basically lock down their firmware, so it can't transmit any kind of data anywhere. So DJI has gone out of its way to take that step with the U.S. government. So, I mean, where do you got to kind of, pick your battle, I guess. Do you side with DJI as, one of the major, players in the game in the drone industry? Um, Yet, condemn them for the possibility of funding from their local government. I mean, for us, and Dan brought up a good point. You know, places like Skydio, Teal Drones, are all receiving U.S. government contracts to kind of take over and fill in that gap that the government created in their own drone program to get U.S. made drones into government, into government programs.
And so if you bought one of those drones, obviously you could say, oh my gosh, the U.S. government's spying on us because they're funding these
You
drones.
could say that. Absolutely.
In the same way as China.
Find an article saying just that.
Yeah. And to
And
Bruce's point, he's asking how's it differ than Chinese-made smartphones. Not sure exactly about smartphones, but I know the government has requested that is it all the telecom departments, or they're getting rid of the Huawei branded networking equipment all over the country because of concerns of the Chinese.
It's not just that. A lot of the IP cameras have been banned as well. A lot of those IP cameras are real shady.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of them. I mean, and even just think of it from this standpoint. How many times have you been talking about wanting a certain product or thinking about a movie or whatnot, and then you log into like Facebook or Instagram, and holy crap, there's an ad for that exact same thing right there. I mean, that's happened to me more times than I can count. I can see Alex shaking his head too.
Surveillance is pervasive.
Yeah, it is. And so, I mean, there's not a difference. You know, it's in terms of
Who do you want to have it?
exactly. Not only that, but how much of your privacy are you willing to have violated for convenience, right? So it's pretty interesting. So I did want to bring that to light. That's been the biggest kind of news story of the last week or so. I do want to drop into this, and I'm just going to shake my head at it a little bit.
Well, the headline really makes me worried.
Well, the headline sounds great. He's criminalized dangerous drone use. I mean, that's exactly what we want. We only want dangerous drone
dangerous?
use. Well, just dangerous things.
Yeah, but it goes a little bit above and beyond that at this point. So a trio of U.S. Senators has launched a bipartisan effort to create comprehensive federal law that will specifically criminalize most forms of dangerous drone use from terror and trafficking activity. Agree. With public responders or interfering with public responders to emergencies. Also agree. That's a bad thing. The aisle-spanning initiatives by Senator Mark Kelly of my own state of Arizona, Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, and Senator Judiciary Committee member Chuck Grassley from Iowa seeks to both tighten existing laws on dangerous drone operation and close legal gaps that don't specify explicit criminal intent in some cases. The introduction of the Drone Act of 2022 comes after not only the proliferation of private use of UAVs by enthusiasts and blossoming services provided by companies, but also high-profile cases of criminals adopting the aerial tech. Illegal deployment of drones has been rising on the U.S. southern border, according to reports, particularly by human traffickers using craft to avoid detection by patrols as they sneak groups of people across. In fact, there was another news story today that I kind of bypassed, but it was the use of a drone by cartels to smuggle drugs over the border. I think here in Arizona. So pretty interesting.
Imagine that gets you farther than the catapult.
What's that?
Said I imagine that gets you a bit farther than a catapult.
Yeah, probably a little bit. So the other thing they talk about is even like basically boiling this down to bothering your neighbors would be considered a dangerous drone use or stuff like that. So this is where it starts to get a little ridiculous. Obviously, things like attaching firearms or weapons to a drone are already prohibited. Explosives or dangerous weapons. But it's just pretty interesting that, I mean, this could spiral out of control
and
a little
to
bit.
Bruce's point, aren't all these things already illegal? Like, isn't it already illegal to smuggle drugs, whether it's with a drone or not?
We're not, right. So why do we need to craft specific rules?
I'm reading the bill right now. There's a paragraph here that says that if it can emit interfering electromagnetic radiation, that is misuse of a drone. So basically, our video transmitters could be construed.
Yeah, anything that transmits RF is interfering in some way or another.
Yeah,
So the control link.
It says can generate or emit electromagnetic radiation or fields that are capable of jamming, disrupting, degrading, damaging, or interfering with the operation of any technological or electronic asset, system, network, or infrastructure, or any component or subcomponent thereof.
Oof. Yeah, that could mean
so,
anything.
like, basically everything.
They should make that law for phones, too.
Right?
Right.
I'd love to see that get passed.
So, I mean, this is the kind of stuff. And again, a lot of this stuff is already illegal in some other fashion. Why does it need to be specifically tied to drones?
Yeah. And basically that same thing is true with the FCC with creating interfering RF anyway, whether it's a drone or not.
Or needing to get a license to, to be able to broadcast at higher power levels. It's just, and I know that most people don't have it, but so it's just interesting that this is the case. I am going to read through this. I haven't read through it in its entirety, but considering this is coming from one of the folks from my home state, there may be a strongly worded letter in my near future to add to the pile of strongly worded letters that I've written. But at any rate, we'll be moving on from that. FAA posted this, I believe. I saw it initially on Facebook, I think. So they've reached the 1 million milestone for airspace authorizations for drone pilots using the LAND system. I would have figured we would have hit this a long time ago.
I think the issue is a lot of people just don't use Lance.
Don't do it. Yeah.
Wait, what's Lance?
Right.
It's not super clear on when you should use it for a lot of people.
You should check with it every time you fly.
Yep. The Federal Aviation Administration has recently issued its millionth airspace authorization for drone pilots to safely use busy airspace. On the achievement, Terry Bristol, Chief Operating Officer of the FAA's Air Traffic Organization, said, "We're grateful to everyone who helped us reach this milestone safely." The collaboration between the FAA and the industry, low altitude authorization and notification capability, or LANCE for extremely short, because nobody wants to say that, directly supports unmanned aircraft system integration into the airspace. So if you haven't, go ahead, Dan.
I was just gonna say, I suppose I am about a few dozen of those 1 million requests.
Yeah, because you live pretty close to an area where you have to do it almost every time, right?
My house is within it, but if I go a block away, it's not. I'm just like right on the edge. So yeah,
it's fun.
And I could just sit here all day and like request Lance from my desk.
Yeah, I live right on the border of, and I've shown this on live streams before, but I live like there's corridors in this giant circle around Phoenix, and I live on the edge of one of those for Goodyear Airport. So, but yeah, I've got a couple of those under my belt as well, so I contributed. All right, so let's see. This is actually from a strange source for drone news.
PC Gamer.
Today, PC Gamer.
I did see pictures of this all over the place.
That thing looks pretty cool.
Yeah, honestly, I'd like to give it a try. It's pretty neat looking. So somebody applied it. There you go.
Don't hit any
Da Vinci
gates.
style aerodynamics to modern day drones. So they basically used air screws instead of propellers, which is, a propeller is basically an air screw, but in a smaller form. So they go on to say, as far as hobby goes, recreational drones are kind of like the outdoor versions of PC gaming. People are always looking for different parts to improve their machines, be it new, quieter spinning fans, better power sources or peripherals like cameras and controllers. Many are just looking to make their drones look as cool as possible. This time that retro charm is going all the way back to the 1400s with this wonderfully whimsical drone with Da Vinci inspired wings.
Wings.
The excellent drone dubbed the I know, right? The excellent drone dubbed the Crimson Spin was built by Austin Preet together with a team from the University of Maryland. Rather than the usual spinning PC fan style wings, this drone uses Archimedes screws to fly, just like in hydraulic machines to lift water or Leonardo da Vinci's famous helicopter design. I will let y'all read the rest of the article. There is a video here. See if I can. Of course, I can't blow it up. That's super.
At least this one doesn't seem to have any ads.
Right?
The other one I saw had a bunch of ads in it.
It
You
sure
could
looks
just
cool.
zoom in on the screen.
That's
Probably.
true.
That thing sounds crazy.
Wonder how many iterations they had to
interesting.
do before they found ones that would not explode while they're spinning.
Right?
Probably a lot.
Yeah. That's interesting. I'd fly it.
Speaking of combining
That's
drones
pretty
and video games, I wonder when someone's going to come out with a little more augmented reality stuff where when you're flying around, you can, fly through imaginary gates instead of real ones.
That
That'd be
would be
pretty cool.
really cool. That
Can't
would.
th-
What's
I
that?
wouldn't be surprised if the DJI FPV thing could be updated to do that,
Certainly seems
Yeah.
like it could.
absolutely.
because they have the home point thingy.
Yeah. Can you imagine like you could download a multi-GP track to it and like go out to your local soccer field and it would just put the track
Oh,
out
that
in the
would
middle
be.
of the field and just fly it?
It'd be just like Velocidrone, but in
But
real
real?
life.
Yeah.
That'd be
Like
pretty
no
And
neat.
then if you
setup or tear
crash
down?
to, but you'd have to do something where if you hit the gate, it like you do a 180. It sets the drone to do a
You'd have to
180.
have some kind of positive feedback, right?
Yeah. So
Extra
that
saying
you know you
Walkera
hit
did
it.
that with their Abio. They did augmented reality stuff with that. I guess that was before my time.
That might have been.
Maybe people don't care about that, but a little bit of it could be fun.
Oh, there you go. This is the one. AR video game capability. That's pretty cool. Huh. I'll have to check that out. All right. Oh, geez. This thing has a giant.
You're all zoomed in.
All right. So let me grab this. This is the last article I have for this evening. FAA Assure A53, Advanced Materials Investigation, Composite Materials Analysis for UAS and Urban Air Mobility. Wichita State University and Mississippi State University, who are part of the FAA Assure Center of Excellence, are currently working on a research project to identify the type of composite, additively manufactured, and other advanced material systems used in the construction of current and future unmanned aircraft systems and advanced air mobility aircraft. The research program aims to identify the major differences between the use and application of advanced materials in UAS vehicles compared to traditional materials and manufacturing materials. For example, current certification guidelines developed by the FAA are typically intended for traditional continuous fiber reinforced thermosetting composite materials. Say that 16 times fast. And may not be appropriate for novel UAS and advanced air mobility advanced materials. Therefore, identifying these new material systems and manufacturing methods would help define future certification requirements. WSU and MSU teams will conduct an extensive literature review and industry-based survey addressing the above statements to collect the data necessary to support the research effort. Moving on, this collaboration will help the FAA and industry by identifying technical gaps in the current standard methods of qualification and certification of advanced material systems. So this will be interesting to see what kind of either stress testing current build materials for UAS or possibly new material types that can be incorporated either in the hobby or in commercial. UAS. So that'll be pretty interesting.
Yeah, this one struck me as unusual in as much as what 787 is composite. Sikorsky's been shipping helicopters that are their airframes completely composite for years. So it's like, well, what are they working on, mate? Is it structures for just small UAS? Because this one, at first blush, I was thinking, oh, and they even mentioned air mobility, so they're thinking larger aircraft. But this, there is a ton of science behind, what's the structural analysis of composite materials for aircraft that are housing people, and where we've been using them for years.
Absolutely.
Well, this one should be interesting to see what
they come up with.
What are they digging into?
Yeah, for sure. I agree. All right, well, that's all I have for this evening. Alex, you got anything for us, sir?
One thing interesting, I don't have a link to it, but Orca has announced that they're going to be making, I believe that they're going to be starting to make their own chips in Croatia, and their own and instead of just assembling in Croatia, they're going to make their own chips and equipment there too.
Are they currently having them manufactured in China and then they build the products in Croatia? Or you're not sure?
I don't know. I just know that they recently made an announcement about having all their stuff made in Croatia. And with the new Ghost Uber light for their control, that's also made in Croatia. It doesn't, so I don't know if there's anything from China on it, but it says it's made in Croatia. So it's another interesting thing too. Instead of the hunk, you're made in China.
Yeah, to Dan's point, it's important as we go through this. Are the components made in Eastern Europe? Are the PCBs made in printed circuit boards made in Eastern Europe? And of course, it does make a ton of sense that the firmware running them would be Orca. So the more that's in Eastern Europe, that's a tighter supply chain, and that would speak well for supply chain issues.
Yeah, if anything, the last couple of years have showed us it's don't spread your stuff out.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. And go ahead, Alex.
I was just gonna say, so it looks like they're just moving all their stuff to completely in house.
It would be interesting to see, and I know parts would be more expensive, but I would be interested to see if people would be willing to do that. There are chip manufacturing facilities, and prototypers and all that kind of stuff here in the States, including one here, fairly long-term one here in Phoenix, Arizona. But and they and I did like that much research into them, but they do offer prototyping services fairly cheap. So it'd be interesting to see if the hobbyist community would shift into local as opposed to Chinese manufactured electronics. So
we're all way too
don't
cheap.
know what the price. Well, I don't know what the price difference would actually be, but a lot of the ESC prices and flight controller stuff has been skyrocketing a lot, and some of the stuff is $40 more expensive than it was. I don't know what the difference in cost is going to be for U.S. made, but people are still paying that price currently.
Well,
but it's
and
also
I think
all that's out there too. So
well, and I'm concerned. I guess my concern personally, from a personal level, is as unrest grows between us and China, what's the repercussions in terms of electronics availability? You know what I'm saying? And not that I wish anything bad happens, but that's just a concern. And as the U.S. is facing its own inflationary problems, what's what would be the price difference going into all that? So just some random thoughts I had on an ADD moment. So
plus, while price doubling is unpleasant for us, with the total volume set of the market still being in the prototype or early production numbers for a normal chip house, doubling from $40 to $80, it doesn't even raise eyebrows in most processor firms in the prototype stages, which is that's the volume set that we're in. Until you start to get out to 7 or 8 figures, then pennies make a huge difference.
Right.
Pennies in cost, pennies in price.
Yep. All right, Dan, you got anything for us?
I don't have anything new, but I was going to ask Dave if he has any updates on the Beyond Visual Line of Sight ARC, and if they have presented or submitted their paper yet to the FAA.
Not yet. Stand by.
Got to be getting really close any day now, right?
They're fixing to deliver it. They pushed it out, I think, about another month at least. So if the BV loss ARC report goes to the FAA in March, I will be a happy guy. I think that's about the time frame. They're supposed to deliver another version of the report, and the previous version that was dropped on December 17th received over 500 strong comments, and they had to work on those and resolve those. So that's what's been taking some time.
And the original deadline was
that's
November?
Clicking not too quickly. Frozen. Can anyone hear me?
we can hear you. Your video's frozen, but we can still hear you. Not sure you can hear us, though.
Uh-oh. There he goes.
I'm thinking he can't hear us when that happens.
Oh, man, that sucks. He's having some technical difficulties tonight, more so than usual. He went on vacation, and all his technology revolted while he was gone.
Gave him time alone.
Yeah, so I was just going to say, I think the original deadline was in November, if I remember right, the end of November.
Yeah.
So that's definitely dragged on a little bit, but for good reasons. If they had submitted what they had back then, there would have been a lot more people upset about it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, we'll look forward to that. We still haven't had any updates on the CBO circular that went out a while back, so we're waiting on that patiently.
And Dave's reminding us that the next, what used to be a DAC, the AAAC meeting is coming up in 2 weeks.
Oh, it's horrible, but true.
Wednesday.
So that will be...
I've heard some people calling it the AAAC now, too.
Yeah.
But AC is better.
Yeah, I like AC. Well, AC, right? Anti-aircraft fire? Isn't that... Yeah, well, I know, and Jay Merkel's already referenced Martians... the Jack Nicklaus movie.
Yeah, so that'll be that'll be on the day we have our next community meeting, so it'll happen earlier in the day. So
this is our last meeting with a scene from Mars Attacks.
Thank you, Mars Attack. Thank you, Cujo. Perfect. Yeah, we got to slip that into a slide.
That would be hilarious.
So we'll be sure to try to post stuff on our Discord and on Facebook, reminding people when that event goes live. I assume it'll be on YouTube, Twitter, whatever they usually stream it on.
Facebook. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so we do have some other things in the work that we are patiently working on, and hopefully we can roll some of that out to you guys in the near future.
Oh, that's right. I put together a new webpage.
Yeah?
I'm sure everybody here already knows how to fly their drones in cold weather, but if they want any more tips on flying in cold weather, I added a cold weather flying
new article, right?
Article to our website. Yeah.
We'll pop the link.
Oh boy, if I can find it, right?
Well, yeah, wrote it and you kind of run the website.
This is a popular topic. There are a number of people across the country who are saying,
talking to you about this. Yeah.
Anyone have any tips on flying in the cold? Does it make any difference?
Plug in a battery and fly. Make sure the battery's charged.
Alex, send it, Suarez.
And then I will say that Alex is looks like he's modeling one of our fancy T-shirts, fancy new T-shirts designed in collaboration with Miss Creature. You can get those on our website as well. There's 2 different versions. There's a racing one and a freestyle one, so definitely check those out. But beyond that, I think that's all we've got for this evening. So I'll give you back the rest of your evening, 15 minutes early.
Unless anybody else has questions for us at all.
Oh yeah, totally. Thank you for jumping that out.
But people don't tend to want to talk to us too much for some reason.
Well, hey, I appreciate the feed the interaction we've gotten this evening. That's the kind of stuff we're looking for. So, guys, it's not just us talking. Feel free to jump in. We'd love to hear from you.
It's also Dave over there. Looks like he was permanently having a drink there.
He's been getting some good kill shots, honestly.
I love it. I love it.
No, it's water, honest.
Yeah, sure, whatever. No judgments here.
It's really funny, Dave, because you just have like one frame every couple minutes, and usually you just get stuck in whatever pose you're at there. It usually chooses good ones for you.
It does, yeah, for sure. We'll try and get those technical difficulties worked out for you by the next meeting.
That would be good.
All right. All right. So we'll see you guys in 2 weeks, and
we'll have an act to talk about.
Exactly.
Okay.
And check out Dan's article and get out and fly. Unless you're in Arizona where there's no snow.
Yeah, it's warming up here in New York.
We'll be looking forward to your
There's
flying
less snow. It's annoying.
in hot weather tips this summer.
It's the first day it hasn't been below 0 here in a while. I went out and flew.
Oh, there you go. Anything above 0 is great flying weather, right?
I had to knock a bunch of snow off my drone, but these things happen.
Yep, sure does. All right, take it easy, guys. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a good evening.